Good afternoon, everybody. It is Thursday, February 4th. It's been a interesting, well, I'll give you the events of the day, but it is dreary, nasty, wet, cold day. We woke up this morning about, 8:30-ish, for a 9 o'clock, Walmart haul, or Walmart pickup. Jerry did the haul on her channel. Um, we got back from that and she did the haul, and I was debating on what I wanted to do this morning because I was still tired. I had a rough night. I fell asleep a fairly decent hour, probably around 1 o'clock, um, if not earlier. And I unfortunately woke up 2 or 3 different times in the middle of the night, mostly a combination of sinus problems and just general body aches. Um, Ann was no better than me. I don't know what time she fell asleep, but I know she woke up at least once or twice because it woke me up. I decided to lay down and take a nap because I was still tired. And Jerry said she might come and lay down, but instead of coming, sorry, I've got a cuticle. Instead of her coming and laying down, she fell asleep in the living room watching the one show that always puts her to sleep, and that's Harry Potter. I think it's the very first Harry Potter one. She always falls asleep at tonight. So when I came out at about 12 and she was passed out, I decided to come in here to do some just general reading and relaxing. We had plans today. We had hopes that we would be able to finish up a lot of small projects around the house. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Primarily because of both of us being not in the best of energy levels mostly because of the weather. I do want to definitely get finished with taking down Christmas. Hopefully, get the boxes for Valentine's Day out of the attic. But we need to do some baked goods for her because she's running out of keto friendly, keto/diabetic friendly snacks. I know she did get herself a few little things, mainly peanut butter. She will, if she gets a craving, she'll take a spoonful of peanut butter and, make that her snack of the moment. But peanut butter gets a little drab and boring after having that as your only snack item. But her health is getting better. her her mental health is getting better. Her physical health is about the same as normal. She still deals with her type 2 diabetes, but she also deals with this time of year, like me, allergy related sinus problems, which cause other issues with our respiratory system between postnasal drip causing sore throat problems and then coughing. Excuse me, my nose itches. I need to trim me some beard and mustache hairs. Other than those issues, Mom is showing improvement on her health. Whatever it was that caused her to get I'm gonna say a common cold because it's kind of what it sounded and looked like. Her health is returning. She's more active. She's doing more stuff. Um, oh boy. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be yawning on camera. It's just something that we can't control sometimes. Um, there's a lot of things going on around this house that's been a little on the lax side, mostly because the fact that we've been um, in a um, how do I put it? An unhealthy state of being. Um, we have not been following a diet regimen lately, the last 2 weeks, because of health issues. Um, Health issues and scheduling issues. Like today's my day off, so I gotta figure out what we're gonna have for dinner, and get it out so it can defrost. I'm probably going to. I don't know what I'm going to do. We have not really sat down to make plans for dinners in 2 weeks. Like I said, mostly due to our health issues. I'll probably pull out like either pork or chicken. No, I think I know what I'm gonna do. I already think I know what I'm gonna do. Um, but we have a list of things that we're trying to work on, and unfortunately, because of health issues and timing and things of that nature, we haven't really gotten on top of our to-do lists. Yeah. I had a video that disappeared somehow off my phone. I don't know if I accidentally deleted it, but it was a series of questions that I would like to see your input on. And the questions are based on the fact that I am at the end of my cousin Michelle's memory verses, and I was trying to decide: do I go back over Revelations, even though I don't have any of my old materials? I literally have to redo Revelations. Do I go through Revelations, try to break it down chapter by chapter? Or do I start all over with just going through the Bible and looking at the various highlighted chapter and verses that I did myself? I know what each colored highlighter means, what it's for. Or do I go into a different study realm? Like, do I go into the realm of Norse mythology and go through the Havanal, which is basically the Norse words of wisdom. I don't consider it the Norse Bible. I just consider it their words of wisdom and words they lived by. Or do I go into a different realm, like a short video session or short series on some of the things I've been drafting or planning out, basically. Now I know a lot of my viewers are not in the role-playing realm of people, but I was thinking maybe starting a short series of videos on D&D that might attract a whole different genre of people. But I was just trying to think of what area do I go into next, or what area do I continue on? I know there's a lot of you who have talked about you enjoy my days that I do Bible verses. The days are changing. The reason why I say the days are changing is because the fact that there's a lot of change in the world around us. And I don't mean just here in the States. I mean globally. We've got the global climate change, which is causing, what did I read? 1.2 cubic million, or 1.2, cubic tons and it's not million, it's trillion tons. 1.2 trillion tons worth of Arctic ice melting off the Arctic polar cap. Um, that right there can cause a lot of issues. I mean, it could cause coastal flooding. Scientists have proven that there's prehistoric bacteria and whatnot in the ice caps that once those ice caps melt, that bacteria is reintroduced into the atmosphere. Don't know what kind of havoc that could wreak. But due to climate changes, we're seeing increased flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, ice storms, snowstorms. In fact, this week is it this week or next week? The upcoming week, I think they said next week. The whole of the United States, the whole of the North American continent, from Mexico up, basically every single state will be affected except for Hawaii, of course. Don't know if Hawaii's going to get affected. I'll say that much. By what they call an Arctic blast due to some science. They gave us some sort of scientific terminology and whatnot. Due to an Arctic vortex, and I'm like, yeah, well, that explains the extreme cold, the extreme snowstorms, the extreme weather. And they were talking about just the U.S. I don't know about Europe or Northern Asia, areas once known as USSR. I've been trying to keep an eye on that, and today I didn't see any updated reports. They were just repeating the same stuff they were repeating yesterday. And I was like, okay, great. I'm ready for it. I've got the clothing for it. I've got the experience and living in cold extremes from the 3 years in Germany. Those to me were cold extremes. I've never lived in Alaska or any place like that, but I've lived in the area in Germany I lived in. If it got above 70, if it got above the 70s in the summertime, people were running around with their shorts and whatnot on. And during the wintertime, it could get as cold. In fact, I think the 1 year we were there, was it 81 or 82? It got to like minus 20 during the daytime. So yeah, I'm kind of prepared for it. Now I'm not prepared for the daytime being in the single digits and the nighttime being in the negative 20s. It's been a long time since I've had to do that, but I've got the clothing for it. I've got the the coats for it, and I'm kind of ready for it. I'm not 100% ready for it, but I've got a parka. I've got thermal underwear. I've got thick clothes. It's just keeping the house warm enough and the store when I'm at work warm enough. And yes, believe it or not, even working with near hot equipment and smoker and that kind of stuff, the air in the store can be cold because one, I don't think it's properly insulated, and two, I think the heaters have an issue. We've got 3 different thermostats, and each one of them are not set at the same temperature. And 9 times out of 10, when I go in there, they're set at like mid to upper 60s, and I'm like, no, that's going to make the food get cold faster, and people are going to complain about cold food. And for a restaurant, it needs to be 70, 74 degrees just to keep the customers cool enough and are warm enough, and the food to stay warm enough. I've already had one customer complain about I don't know if it was a baker or a meat item that was cold by the time he started eating it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'll replace it. And then I checked the thermostats, and they were set at 65. And I'm like, no. That's great for overnight temperature, but they need to jack that sucker up to 70 by the time they get into work. I mean, 65 is good for keeping your building warm when there's nobody there and you don't have to worry about keeping food warm. Um, but yeah, I've been keeping tabs on that because it's like this weather is wacky and it's causing all kinds of problems. Um, Not only causing problems for people and travelers and what like that, but for people like my mom who's constantly cold and all year round it looks like she's bundled up waiting for, a snowstorm or something like that, even though we try to keep our house at daytime temperatures 67, 68, nighttime temperatures 68, 69. And then of course we lower it to like 65 when we go to sleep because unlike most people, my wife does not need a heating blanket or a lot of thick blankets because, well, for my wife, a lot of people who are, and I hate using this word to describe my wife, but overweight, they're naturally insulated. But me, I'm not. I'm average weight. I'm a little bit below the healthy weight for an adult of my age, but I have two key factors that keep me thin and keep me warm. One factor is I have hyperactive. What did the doctor call it? It wasn't really exactly hyperactivity. Um, oh God, I can't remember what they called it, but it's one of the things that keeps me thin. It's well, I'm hyperglycemic. That's one, but I'm also I can't remember what the doctor called it, but it had to do with my, I don't know if it was my thyroid or just my metabolism that keeps me thin. But the other thing is, the average adult, I think I've said this before, the average adult, when they go to bed, their body temperature lowers because they don't need to keep you warm during the nighttime because you're not active. Well, not me. Throughout my whole entire life, when I go to bed, my body temperature spikes. It goes up. And I don't know if that's something to do with my hyperactivity or my genetic factor, whatever you want to call it. But as far back as I can remember, probably even as far back as my toddler years, um, I've always been warm when I first wake up. Like my body temperature is going up at night. And my wife and I joke about, oh, we don't need a heating blanket. We don't need thick blankets. Jim's right there next to me in bed. I've got a natural heating blanket. Yeah, she does. Um, that's why a lot of times in the middle of the night I wake up because of fact her cold, as I call it, her cold butterball butt is against my warm leg or arm or whatever, depending on, sometimes she sleeps higher than I do, sometimes I sleep higher than she does on the bed, because of pillows and whatnot. But I've woken up many times in New York um, in the wintertime with a cold butt near my warm leg, and I'm like, what the heck? It's because of the fact that I generate heat. Now during the summertime, she wants me to sleep as far away as possible on the bed because of the fact that I generate heat, and we end up sleeping during the all year round. We have an oscillating fan just to keep the air circulating, but in the wintertime, between the air conditioner and the fan, or not wintertime, excuse me, summertime, um, our room, because it's a south facing, not a south, yeah, a south facing room, our room is always warm. So, um, our room will be warm. We literally have to either open up the windows or jack up the AC, um, in our and whatnot to cool off the room enough to go to sleep. Otherwise, we're both sleeping. We're both basically only sleeping with either a sheet or just our pajamas. Excuse me, folks. I have no space to lean in this room. Um, but I'm curious and eager to see what our summers are going to be like, because some scientists are saying that our summers are going to be much warmer than they were last year because of the changing climate or whatnot. I forgot what the description was, but um, I'm interested to see what it's going to be like. I'm hoping we don't go from winter directly into summer, because summertime can be too warm for us to open up the house to air out the just to air out the house. I mean, get fresh air and get rid of the old, stagnant, smoke induced environment. But I am curious and eager to see what happens towards summertime. I'm also concerned because of the recent increase in what I call micro quakes along the Ring of Fire. Micro quakes to me is basically anything that's a 3 and below. They're just enough to shake things up, but not enough to do any severe damage, except for maybe the glassware, crack windows, things like that. But nothing that's going to cause structural damage to a house. Just rattle your nerves pretty good. That in a factor because of the increased rain or precipitation. Doesn't mean just rain, but any kind of precipitation, rain, snow, whatnot. It's caused a couple mudslides in California, which, not that it's unheard of, but it's the one particular mudslide everybody's talking about was the one that damaged or took out a good section of Highway 1 along the California coastline near Big Sur. Now, I don't know much about the highways in California, if Highway 1 is a major artery for California's infrastructure. But you would think because it's close to Big Sur that it would be a major highway to and from that destination. What concerns me is the fact that if it's happening near the Highway 1 by Big Sur, what other areas in California or along the West Coast or any coastline that's had a lot of major unusual precipitation like heavy snow could have other mudslides that would be damaging more than just a highway, like a home, a community, tourist destination, resort type deal. But it does have me concerned to what other kind of issues we could be facing due to if this Arctic blast is coming down towards us this coming in the next week or so. What other kind of issues could it have besides blizzard conditions, whiteout conditions, avalanches, major car wrecks like the one that happened last week in it happened in Arizona. They had a major snowstorm, which they're not used to, and it caused a major car pileup that literally caused the snow to turn red underneath the cars. And I found out why. I did some research. The number one cause of snow turning red under a major car accident is because of two different items from the car itself. Radiator fluid, which when mixed with cold snow can turn pinkish red, and brake fluid. Now, if you get a lot of cars, especially like heavy duty vehicles like diesels, semi trucks, they contain a lot of different fluids in their engine compartment, between radiator fluid, brake fluid, gasoline, and just the oil from the engine alone. mixed together, hitting that snow can turn it red. It's a freakish little thing, but somebody said algae, and I'm like, algae in snow in the middle of the desert due to a car wreck? I don't think so. But no, I did my research. It's because of certain fluids coming from the vehicles themselves that can turn the snow a tinge of red. Because you got to realize, if you've ever seen brake fluid or hydraulic fluid, it's a pinkish color. It's a I can't remember exactly what what causes the color to be a pink looking color, but diesels, especially big semi trucks, have enough brake fluid and radiator fluid to, yeah, make a big mess. Highway, what was the highway patrol? It was either highway patrol or medical. I don't know what it was, but somebody from a report said if it wasn't for the factor of all that snow being on the ground when it happened, the cleanup mess would have been worse. It would have been a worse mess to clean up. What hampered the factor it took so many hours to clean up was the snow. They couldn't get plows through there. A lot of the big rigs and cars that were stuck in the wreck that had to be pulled out took longer to get to because they had to literally move vehicles, clean snow, move vehicles, clean snow, move vehicles, clean snow. So it was a process of trying to get the vehicles out and clean the snow so they can get to the major part of the mess. But if things like what scientists are saying could happen, continues to happen or does happen, or continues to be a factor, it's going to cause a lot more issues than simple car wrecks. It's going to cause people to be stuck in their homes for unknown periods of time. Businesses having to be closed because of the weather. There, places like, I'm trying to think of places like in the South, they're not used to heavy snow. Most of Texas, southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, southern California, most of California, well, half of California, let's put it that way. Places like Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, even as far north as South Carolina, are not used to heavy snow. And especially like Texas and places that don't have the proper equipment for plowing the snow or clearing up the snow and whatnot, are going to be, I don't want to say SOL, but they're going to be in dire straits. Um, my my part of Missouri, we're used to plowing some snow, but we're not used to what they're calling for, because they're talking about even as far down as Houston, Texas, getting feet worth of snow, not inches but feet. And I'm like, well, okay. According to all the weather reports, places like Colorado, the Dakotas, even upstate Missouri have already seen evidence of feet worth of snow in one dumping, one snowfall. And I'm like, our last snowfall, which was about a week ago, was almost 6 inches. And I'm like, well, we're used to 6 inches, but we're talking about 24, maybe 36 inches worth of snow. That's 2.5 feet worth of snow. I don't know if we're ready for that here in central Missouri. I'm not sure that that's what we're going to get, but that's what they're talking about possibilities of. And I'm like, well, let's see here. Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, as what they were calling it, was a 100-year storm. Now, that was back in 2013. Here we are in the beginning of 2021. Are we going to blame this on Arctic vortex, Arctic blasts? Are we going to, scientists are going to find some sort of explanation? Don't know. I just know that we as human beings are resilient, and we will find a way to cope and deal with it. Yeah, it will cause some hardships and some headaches and psychological problems, economic problems. Could cause a lot of different problems. But the thing is, I'm more concerned, not for myself, but I'm concerned about all those people, especially in the Northeast, that just got slammed. I mean, the Northeast area, I don't know exactly what states, but I'm pretty sure, like, most of the New England states, New York, Maine, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all those states, from basically Maine all the way down into Pennsylvania, maybe even Ohio, the Ohio area, even though I haven't heard about it from my aunt and uncle. They got slammed pretty hard with what they called a nor'easter. And I'm like, this is more than just a nor'easter. I lived in New York. I know what nor'easters are like. This is like a nor'easter met an Arctic storm and had a baby and dumped it in, the northeastern quadrant of the U.S. My concern is all those people who had been basically evicted from their homes and whatnot, or all those people living on the streets, had to basically weather the storm, either if they got the opportunity to get into a shelter, or if hopefully they got into some sort of area, in some sort of temporary housing situation, so they didn't have to be out there in the weather, because nor'easters are cold and blustery as is. Not all of them are snowy, but all those people, especially in New York, that were basically evicted out of their homes due to the fact that their jobs, their businesses were closed due to COVID. I've heard a lot of different stories about people who were caught out in the nasty bad weather because they were homeless, and couldn't get into a shelter and got pneumonia or some other deadly illness that they couldn't get medical coverage for, and ended up dying in the streets. It's one of those things where it upsets me, because the fact that the government or the city for that state and that area were not trying their best or the hardest to keep those people in their homes, because those weren't just single people or couples without kids. Those were whole families. Those were whole families that were evicted because, and I'm going to say the words because that's the only way I can describe a lot of the apartment owners or apartment complex owners, slumlords. Didn't care about the fact that they couldn't afford to live there because of COVID, and did not try to work it out with them or get some sort of government aid. But they were just evicted. No rhyme or reason. Just because of the fact that they couldn't afford it because of COVID. That was the only rhyme or reason. Because of COVID, they couldn't afford it. I've already talked about and had my say about how I think if I was a complex owner or apartment owner, and I lived in an area where a lot of these people could not afford to live there because of COVID, I would not have kicked them onto the streets. I would have basically said, look, I know the situation, I understand the situation. I will give you, we'll work it out. Go fill out your paperwork and whatnot for unemployment or temporary unemployment, which they had back then because of COVID, and we'll work it out. Your primary concern, and even though I don't have kids of my own, anybody who has family, it doesn't matter if you're taking care of your mom, your dad, or you've got kids of your own, anybody who's family oriented would understand these people cannot afford, they can't. I would not want to kick a whole family out of my apartment complex because they couldn't afford anything because of COVID. Because who am I going to get to come into the apartment? Who am I going to get to replace that family in my apartment when everybody is suffering from the same thing except for those who are basically, excuse my language, assholes and don't care about anything but the money that they're going to get. And a lot of these slumlords in New York have these apartment complexes. They're raking money in left and right, and they're living on high someplace in, not exactly Manhattan, but not exactly the Bronx. If you know New York, you understand that Manhattan is the highest cost of living in New York, while the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn are not so much. They're a little bit more middle class, middle income. Yeah, wind's picking up. I'd find a way to work it out so these families can stay in a home, so they're at least protected from the elements. I mean, I might have to, decrease power. Try to get everybody to decrease power consumption and water consumption, and heat. Heat would be the heat from my point of view. Knowing who I am, if I own an apartment complex, I'd be like, look, we're gonna have to, get everybody together, have a little powwow, and say, hey, look, because everybody's having a hard time, I'm not kicking anybody out. That's the first thing I will basically not do. First thing I would like, that would be the last resort. The only way I'd be kicking people out of the apartment complex is if basically I'm losing the apartment complex. But if we can all just get together and decrease electrical use, decrease water use, try to find a way to lower the bill, basically, so we're not paying as much money out for utilities. I'd be willing to go out and buy them space heaters, flashlights, lanterns, things that won't basically cause the apartment complex to burn down. I'd do anything and everything I could help people out in my apartment complex if I was an owner of an apartment complex. I'm not. I just have a lot of ideas up here that sound like they would work, might be workable, might be feasible. I'm not a money person. I leave that up to Jenny Ann because she understands that stuff better than I do. But we need to start getting back up on our feet. And if weather's going to get worse, we need to be concerned about everybody else, not just ourselves. I mean, I've heard of what is it? I can't remember exactly what they are, but they're groups of people. There are groups that started up basically to help the community, whether it's getting groceries for the community, handing out food for the community, doing everything they can to keep the community fed or taken care of. There's been volunteer services from medical people. There's been volunteer food. There's food banks and whatnot. There's even volunteer groups that are helping take care of people's pets, getting people food for the pets, getting people, getting family pets, medical services. The doctors, veterinarian exams and shots and things like that. And I am thankful that these people are active in the big cities. One of the big things that the government's trying to put, our President-elect Biden is trying to push, is another $1,400 stimulus check. And as much as I will sit here and say, yes, that would be great, because then one, it will help me catch up on a lot of bills that I'm falling behind on. I'm not falling behind on that much, but I'm making enough of a payment on my bills to keep them off my back. But and $1,400 will help out a little bit. And like last time when we got a big 1,400, we got the big stimulus check last summer. We used it to pay off a lot of our bills, and then we turned around and we donated. I think we donated about $50 to $100 to one of our local charities for was it Planned Parenthood, or was it just our local so many different groups here in Raleigh that I can't remember them all. I just know that we gave money to 2 different groups for our community. One was a food service group that basically, it's like a food pantry. We have it's a state-run group, and they come to our town once a week, usually on like a Tuesday or Thursday, and they park outside of one of our big churches, and you just come through and you tell them how many people are in your household, and you either hand them a electric bill or something to prove you're a resident of Rolla, and they give you some canned goods, breads, some produce. The only thing you can't get from them is like meat, like chicken, hamburger, pork, anything that's basically a freezable good. Most of the goods they give you is shelf-stable items, which is great, because then you can get a week's worth of shelf-stable items from them, and you can take your cash, food stamps, whatever, to your grocery store and get non-shelf items like lunch meat, milk, juice, that kind of stuff. I was able to, thankfully, I had enough money around the holidays to give to one of my favorite charity groups that I would love to give them more, but sometimes I can't give them anything, and that's the World Wildlife Foundation, because I'm all about the animals. I strongly believe that animals need a larger advocate group, because 1, they can't speak for themselves, and 2, if we don't try to do as much as we can to protect endangered or various species of animals that are in the near to endangered category because of over deforestation, or just over poaching, things like that. There was one point in time where I was able to give almost monthly donations to the World Wildlife Foundation, that they sent me a package for, actually the National Wildlife Foundation sent me a package for Adopt a Wolf. And for about a year and a half, I had a wolf that I was donating directly for. And I actually had a package that had like their picture, date of birth, all their information, including their name. And the wolf's name was Lakota, named after the Lakota Sioux tribe. I wish I can get back on my feet to do that, because they actually sent me an invitation, because this particular group of wolves that they had, people donating for those particular wolves, was in a educational program in South Dakota, and they had actually sent me an invitation to come up to the research center and see the wolf and be able to get my picture taken and whatnot with it. And that did not happen, because 1, I did not have transportation at the time, and 2, it's not that I didn't want to, it's just lack of transportation, lack of extra funds. The good thing though is I got to be in Yellowstone National Park within I think what was it, about 50 yards of where they released the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone National Park. So I got to see that happen. Downside was no camera. I didn't have a camera at the time. Oh well. But anyhow, I want to get off this because I gotta go try to wake up the wife, see if she's awake, and try to get stuff done. Otherwise, it's going to be another day of not getting things done the way we want to or need to. So if you enjoyed this conversation, hold on, backtrack. Before I get off, I'm going to reiterate my question that I did earlier, just so it doesn't get missed. My question to you, the people, is what do you think I should be trying to do more of, or start over, start anew? Do you want to see me do my personal Bible reads instead of now that I'm done with Michelle's? Do you want me to do anything on Norse mythology, or the readings from the Havanah, which is basically the Norse words of wisdom? Or would you like me to do any kind of like a short series on drafting, using what memory I have from my short schooling on drafting? Or do you know, this last one is kind of probably a no, because not many of you are into role-playing games. Anybody interested in making a character for playing Dungeons and Dragons, I can do a short series or short video on that. But those are my thoughts or ideas of what I should do for the future. You guys can put your input in the comment box. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments on my question to you guys, go ahead and put them in the comment box. I will read those and try to deal with those. I'll read those, get a vote, tally up the votes, and decide who's got the stronger vote, what's the strongest vote from your comments, and anything like that. So if you're new to my channel and you want to join, go ahead and click the subscribe button. A little bell will pop up, and once you click on that bell, YouTube will let you know when I put in a new video. So until next time, God bless, have a good day, be safe, bye.